Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning. So excited that you are here with us in this safe space that is filled with love and compassion and our mutual desire to heal our children and our families and ourselves. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I am so honored to have this incredible young lady here with us, Lexi Hopkins Cunningham. I first met Lexi, the reason I say this incredible young lady, I remember her when she was a little girl, at 9 years old, when we lived on the same block in Maryland, her family and my family. My children were 3 and newborn, and our families became fast friends, and I've watched her grown up, and I've watched her blossom into this incredible, incredible woman with a passion for the subject that we will be talking about today. So let me tell you about Lexi. Lexi Hopkins Cunningham is a graduate of Yale College and Yale School of Public Health, where she received both her BA and MPH. She is a suicidologist. Her research analyzes the history of suicide in Black communities, and she uses that lens to understand the current crisis of death by suicide among Black youth. In addition to her research, Lexi is an expert in health equity and wellness. Letting people in, excuse me for that pause. In 2020, after seeing how COVID-19 illuminated health disparities Black communities face, she founded LRH Wellness, a virtual wellness center that used community-based programs and social media to help Black communities live healthy lives. I'm so honored to have you here, Lexi, with us this morning. And before we get started on this conversation in honor of Suicide Prevention Month, or in recognition, I should say, of Suicide Prevention Month, I just want to share that this is a challenging topic for many of us who may have experienced someone who has died by suicide, or a loved one who may have attempted to end their life by suicide, which, as everyone knows, is my story. And so please be mindful of this topic today. And it really is a continuation of some of the conversations that Candace Washington had last Sunday with Dr. Vicki Johnson. And so if you need to take a moment, if you need to step away, do whatever you need to do for yourself and your own personal self-care, if there is a moment that triggers you. We want to be supportive, and we want you to give yourself grace during this conversation if you need to. And so, as I've stated, September is a significant month for us in the mental health space, as it illuminates National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And so, Lexi, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm so happy to see your beautiful face, and congratulations again on your recent nuptials, wedding. So you are a newlywed. It's such a pleasure to have you this morning with us. And I want to open by having you share with us, what is a suicidologist? What does that mean exactly?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful to be here and be able to share my work and connect with this beautiful community. So a suicidologist is somebody who researches and studies suicide and suicide prevention. You can do suicidology work from multiple lenses. Oftentimes you think of psychologists or psychiatrists, but in my case, I think of population-based research. So from that public health lens of how are we understanding suicide behaviors and attempts and deaths and prevention mechanisms from a whole population standpoint. So moving from the individual lens into like a population-based setting. So this looks at not only understanding the data and statistics, but also making sure that we're creating interventions that work on a communal level, that work on a population base. I really like this lens because I specifically focus on working within Black communities. And we know from all the research that taking that communal approach within Black communities is a stronger way to prevent suicide than taking that individualistic approach for a lot of different reasons.
Mhm. So tell me more about that, like taking an approach from a communal perspective. What does
Yeah.
that mean exactly, and how do you do that with your practice and other experiences that you've seen?
Yeah, so when we think about suicide often and just mental health in general, we think of this very individualistic experience, right? It's me, it's just me going through it, it's just my family unit going through this. Um, it's an issue of the individual. But what we know from sociology and the reality is that suicide is often a dysfunction in the communal structure, that
Mhm.
somebody feels isolated from community. And there's a lot of different theories about how and why one might feel isolated. But if we think about that and we think about suicide and depression and anxiety as a symptom of a disconnected society and disconnected community, to me, it makes a lot of sense that we
Mhm.
think of how do we reinforce a community? How do we restructure a community? So for Wellness in Color, and that's the nonprofit I founded and run, we really focus on community-based interventions. So you'll never see us do one-on-one counseling. And while there is a place for that, we cannot ignore that therapy is extremely beneficial. Having one-on-one care is important. We know that the best preventative measures are starting upstream, thinking really high at the top of when somebody is feeling disconnected from community. And that can look a lot of ways, whether it be the family unit, whether it be their school place, whether it be their community at large, their neighborhood. But what that really means is that all interventions tie back to a community and make people feel ingrained and important into a community, opposed to really focusing on the individual and the individual's problem. And again, there is a place for that. That's important, but it's really having all of these kind of touch points that makes the biggest impact on an individual and a community's life.
Mhm. And when you talk about touch points, what I immediately think about is so many of the people that are on right now. One of the biggest touch points is the parental relationship and what may happen if our child is living in our house, or even if they're not living in our home. But that relationship between parent and our children or our loved ones um, is so critically important. Can you talk about that relationship and what types of things parents can do
Yeah.
uh, with their children from a preventative perspective?
Yeah. So this is actually, very important to me. This is kind of where my research focuses on help seeking among Black youth who are experiencing suicidality, experiencing suicidal thoughts and behaviors and actions. And there are a lot of reasons why or why not Black youth would reach out for help or not reach out for help. The reality is the majority aren't asking for help. And the key is trying to make the avenues in which that they can ask for help. Suicide
Mhm.
is so scary. And I think that's just like an important thing to acknowledge off the bat. Like it is a very
Mhm.
scary thing to deal with as a family, to deal with as a parent. But the reality is the kid is really scared as well. It's
Mhm.
not flippant. And so this is a moment where, parents have to really pull into that strength, I think, and be able to be strong and not show fear just yet and be vulnerable and say, you know what, I am scared for you. I am scared for how you're feeling, but I'm going to be a rock for you in this moment. A lot of children fear. My research found kind of three reasons why a child might not get help. One is they fear adding burden to the family. They feel like the family has already enough issues. They're thinking about structural racism, even though they're not using that language. They're thinking about their place as a Black individual in this larger society. They're thinking about, the family problems that are happening, or, the different stressors within family life, and they don't want to add to that burden. Another thing that Black youth often come up with is that they think that they can handle it themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
on those two fronts, always reassuring your child that you are never a burden, that I am here to listen to you, I am here to support you. Reminders like that are really powerful and go a long way. In my qualitative research, most participants said that their parents never expressed that to them. They always heard, I will always love you, it's okay, but they never heard that you are not a burden. You do not cause me stress, that really like kind of fundamental of like, I am here to listen and to support you was always lost on them. And as a parent, you probably think you say that in a lot of ways, but being really explicit and being very consistent with that messaging is what goes the furthest. When it comes to Black youth thinking that they can handle it themselves and that they can figure it out themselves, that, there's a lot of systems and structural ways in which that is reinforced in Black youth, is how they're seen as like little adults and how they're adultified very early on. But I
Mm-hmm.
think as a parent combating that, the strongest thing you can do is to remind them, you're a child, you're growing up, and I want to give you that personhood. I want to allow you to grow. But I'm here as backup. I am here to be your first line of defense. I am here to take on things that are too much for you. And I'm sure as parents you think you're saying this a lot, but the reality is when you're really explicit, when you're really clear, it goes so much further. And then I would say the last thing is to ask the question. That's the scariest thing, because once it's out there, it's out there. And
Mm-hmm.
now as a family, you have to do something, right? But there's scales of suicidality, right? And it's important to know where your child falls on that kind of spectrum. So we think about, passive ideation of somebody thinking that, oh, I just don't want to be here, life would be better without me, versus having a plan. They might have a plan, they might have, the means to do this, to enact their plan, and then means like they have access to the tools in which they need to, to do their plan. So when you ask that question very directly, are you experiencing suicidal thoughts? Are you thinking that the world would be better if you weren't here? When you ask those direct questions, you can then kind of understand exactly where your child is on that scale. So if your child's having passive thoughts, that's okay. That's a great place to start, to have these conversations, to prevent plan making, to prevent means seeking. If your child has a plan, then
Can
you
you
start
pause
that.
there for Lexi for a second? So,
Yeah,
can I just, this is really, this part, I just want to hear more on this. If
yeah.
you ask the direct question, are you experiencing suicidal thoughts? And your child or young adult says yes. What should the response from the parent be? I
I
love
think,
you. Because I heard you say it's okay.
yeah.
It's um, but what would an appropriate response be in that exact moment where they say yes? If they say yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, the first thing is validating and just thanking them for being honest and sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Being very like transparent that you appreciate them sharing, because these are the things you want to know as a parent, right? Um, this is the time where you really have to dig deep and stay calm. It is
Yeah.
easy to freak out. It is very easy to freak out. It is very, very easy to escalate. And that is the opposite of what you want to do.
Yeah.
So it is a time to dig really deep, to pull that serenity prayer out, to just take a second, take a breath, and say, thank you for sharing. I want you to know that I am here to be supportive, to listen to you, to support
Mm,
you how you think you need to be supported.
mm,
And I think it's also important to say, like, as a parent, my priority is your safety.
mm,
So it's really important to make sure that you're very clear that you are grateful that they're sharing this with you, that you have the relationship where they can be open and honest, that they
Yes.
can be vulnerable with you. It's important that you are vulnerable back and say that, as a parent, like, this is scary, but I am here to support you and I'm here to make sure you are safe. So focusing on that positive aspect of just like gratitude and hearing them out and not going straight to like, why, what's going on, da, 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 da. It's
Mm,
the best thing you can do. Just sit with it. And that's the hardest thing to do. Just sit with it because you
yes.
want to go into crisis mode. You want to go into action, but that can scare people more. That
Yes.
can oftentimes make your child feel more inclined to just freak out themselves. Like, if my mom can't handle this, if my dad can't handle this, how am I supposed to handle this?
That's right. Mm,
So I think that's the first thing to do. Just give the space to be honest, to have gratitude, and to be very candid that you're happy you can have these conversations. Because as a parent, you really are happy you can have these conversations.
that's massive.
Yeah,
If somebody answers that question honestly, which is, would be scary for the young person or the adult to actually say yes, then I think a common response is to freak out,
yeah,
potentially. I know I did when it happened with us with Kyle. We freaked out and had him sent away, which is the worst possible thing in hindsight that probably could have happened to him, on many levels.
yeah.
So I think, you saying that is really powerful. To stay calm, stay grounded, grateful, vulnerable, thankful that they're sharing.
Yes. And
Mm,
I think it's also important to understand, this isn't a one and done conversation,
yes,
right?
yes,
This is a continuous, for some, it's a lifelong journey. So the idea that, like, in that one conversation, it's going to be fixed and it's going to be handled and it's going to be done and we're never going to deal with it again, it's just unrealistic.
mhm.
So creating the open lines of conversation is really important. Um, and I
And
will say,
direct questions. Another thing you said that I thought was really powerful, it's not just, "How was your day?" It was, you ask a direct question. There was a woman here, a few years ago that specialized in cutting, which was something I didn't know anything about. And I asked a person if they had been cutting, and from a safe space, because she said what you said, do not overreact.
yeah,
If a loved one says yes. And the person looked at me and then showed me. And I
yeah,
was like speechless. But I remember her saying, do not overreact. And
yeah,
it was the best thing because it opened up a space that otherwise was not there. So I just
exactly.
appreciate you pausing on that. Um, Plus, your question was around, and I paused you on what do you say? So you answered that so beautifully. Thank you for that.
And I would say once you have that pause and you express that gratitude and you give that space, the next question is to also directly ask, do you have a plan? Because that's when we know that these suicidal thoughts and ideations are escalating. And so what is concerning is if somebody does have a plan and somebody has the means to enact that plan. So, the biggest indicator of death by suicide is if somebody has the means to enact a plan. It's not actually thoughts and behaviors from the research. Thoughts and behaviors happen a lot. But if somebody has the actual means, so they have access to firearms, they have access to unrestricted medicines and medications, they have access to drugs, alcohol, anything like that, that is very concerning. And so asking if somebody has a plan, and if they say yes, then you need to ask, do you have the means to enact that plan? So if somebody says, yes, I have a plan, you ask, what is your plan? So and these are really hard conversations. I want to pause and say, like, this is not easy to do. This is not a cheerful Sunday call you're having with your child, right? This is very hard and very difficult, but these are the critical details you need so that, you can go and make your house safe, so that you can go, if you have an adult child who doesn't live in the home, so you can create a plan with them to get rid of the things that might help them enact their plan. If you are a gun owner, so you can have safer firearms in your home. Things like that are really, really critical to keep in mind. And, when we think of putting people on like a 72-hour hold, or you take them to the emergency room and they hold them in the hospital, the biggest benefit of that is that they are removed from the tools in which they could enact their plan. It's not actually the medical care they're receiving right then, because it's only 3 days, right? I said this is going to be a continuous conversation. This is a long, long, long journey, but it's removing the access to the tools. So going through that progression of questions is very important to understand exactly the risk in which your child is experiencing and to understand where you can step in.
Mm. I'm just taking notes. And yeah, those three questions are very challenging. And in your experience and your research, have you found that when people ask the questions that that they have been successful? I guess I'm not sure if that's the right word or the proper word. That it's prevented
Yeah.
more. Okay.
People
Mm-hmm.
tend to be honest. That's the thing. The research shows, and my work shows, and this is a big push of wellness and colors, talking about suicide prevents suicide.
Mm,
That is like such a powerful thing, to just have that acknowledgement, to be able to say, yes, this is what I experienced. This is my perception of the world and my situation, is a really strong mechanism to prevent
mm,
suicide. So what you find is, when you have established a basis of trust, honesty, you've assured somebody that you're not going to freak out. You're not going to call 911. You're not going to get them hospitalized or institutionalized, that you're here for a conversation. People tend to be honest, but that requires you allowing them to have some control in the conversation.
mm,
The reaction when you hear that somebody is suicidal, or that your child's experiencing suicidality, is you want to regain control. You want to tighten the ship up, right?
mm-hmm,
But you have to allow a little of your control to go away. You got to give control to your child, to show
mm,
them that you are here to be supportive and to protect them, but you are not here to run their life and pick what will be best for them.
mm. Yes,
And that's very difficult. That's
it
like,
is.
I say all of this and it sounds so simple, but I understand it is so, so hard. It's so hard. But when you are able to be vulnerable, when you're able to create those avenues of candid and honest conversation,
Mhm,
you really do end up with these positive
mm,
conversations. It's very clear, like, what is happening, what is going on, so that you can help your child.
mhm, mm. You're saying so many things that are striking a chord with me this morning because yes, we lived in a space of fear of getting into the system, fear, all the like you just said, drugs, alcohol, pills, all the things, fear, just so much fear, and then control, like trying to, no, you can't go to that. No, you can't go to that. No, 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 no. And no real talking
Yeah.
or asking questions or having a conversation. And so that's so deep. So there's such power in that.
And I think, it's hard because there's this incredible paper, it's like, that's called like "Suicide is a White Thing," or "That's a White Problem." And,
Mm,
we've closed our eyes and closed our mouths to suicide. And
mhm,
just as like a society as at large,
mhm,
suicide is a very difficult conversation to talk about. Specifically within Black communities, that's really, really difficult. And that's why my research starts from the slave trade until now, because I was really fascinated with understanding, the historical roots of why it is so difficult in our communities to talk
mhm,
about suicide, and why there's so much taboo uh in Black communities. And there's histories and histories and histories in which we've been demonized as Black communities and as Black individuals for suicidality, as in a way in which that is heightened compared to society at large.
Mm. And the trends are going the wrong way. We were talking earlier about the data, the Kaiser Family Foundation data, and there's SAMHSA just released some even more recent data this year, and the trends are going the wrong way. And I know you know this as a researcher in this space, but pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, the rates of depression and anxiety were 11%, was 11% pre-pandemic. And in the Black community, it's 48% now, 48%. And mental health issues has surpassed all other health disorders. Cancer, diabetes, mental health is the number one issue in the US and globally. And it is finally, I'm grateful people are talking about it, so that we can try to reverse the trends that are going the wrong direction, especially for our community and our young people. And I was just reading some data that says young adults, a lot of us have young adults on these calls, or you're a young adult, Lexi, but 18 to 25-year-olds have the highest prevalence of any mental illness or AMI, 34%. And high school students, 22% of high school students last year have seriously considered attempting suicide. And 52% of high school students have persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. Over half of high school students. It's just, and many of our children either have been there, are there now. And so the need for the work that you do is so tremendous in terms of um, putting language in people's mouths and helping people like us um, work through issues, whether we've been personally affected or have had a loved one that has died by suicide, which is a tragic situation, or a person that may have attempted. Um, it is a topic that needs to be discussed and talked about. And so and I would say, and I'd love for you to talk about this too, the 988 number that was put into law last year by the federal government, and the states are funding that. And then is so important because you can call any time of day, 24 hours a day, 988. Much easier to remember than the old
Yeah.
whatever suicide prevention hotline number, but 988. And apparently 10 million people have called it since it started, over a million in just 1 month. So that says people are reaching out for help. So that's a good thing. But I would love for you to talk. Are you seeing that as well in terms of 988 support? Are you seeing people calling in and working through your support groups? And tell us more about what you do specifically in this space. So two separate questions, 988 question, and then would love to hear about what you do specifically in this space as well.
So 988 has been really successful. There was some kinks at the beginning, but it's really working out. So when somebody calls 988, they'll ask a lot of the similar questions that I asked about, why are you calling? What's going on? And it's not only for suicidality, it's any sort of mental health crisis support necessary. Sometimes it's not a crisis. People just need to talk and want to know resources. Sometimes people will call for a family or friend and they don't know what to do. So 988 is a great resource for a lot of different things.
Yes.
The average wait time, or like the longest wait time, is like 30 seconds. So, just hold on. You'll get connected very quickly. But when somebody calls 988, the goal is to talk through things. The goal is not to send 911 to your house. That happens very rarely. It happens in extreme circumstances. And normally, if somebody is dispatched to your house, it is like 988 mental health triage. And again, that's still really rare. The goal is to make sure that people feel connected, that they have a conversation, that they can get the resources they need for continuous care. But it's been really positive because people are reaching out to help, for
Mhm.
help, which is great. And, I think there's always fear of like calling these official numbers and, oh, they're going to take all my data and, they're going to be at my house. And, I was just trying to see like what I could do, but it's actually, just another resource, another tool in the toolkit for support. So, even if you're not experiencing suicidality, like I said earlier, like you can call on behalf of your family, on behalf of your child. My child just came to me with this fact that they're feeling suicidal and I don't know what to do. They're a great
Someone
resource.
will talk with you.
It's free.
Yes.
It's
Mhm.
free, Um, and they'll be able to kind of direct you and guide you through this conversation. So 988, wonderful, wonderful resource. You can text, you can chat, you can call. So many different options, which is great for
Mhm.
accessibility.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
as you said, 24/7, 365. They are always
Yes.
on.
Mhm.
Um, and then Wellness in Color. So Wellness in Color, that's the nonprofit I run. It's brand new. We launched in August. So Wellness in Color focuses on Black women plus gender expansive individuals between the ages of 18 through 35. Our work focuses on non-clinical, community-based suicide prevention resources and interventions. So this looks like our bi-weekly peer support group. So that's Tuesdays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. online virtual. And this is a space where, people can come as they are, take what they need, and give what they can. The goal is that in these spaces, through narrative sharing, through just sitting with people who understand and accept and get your point of view, you can share your experiences, that you can contribute and listen and be in a community of people who get it. It's for people
Mhm.
whose lives have been touched by suicide, so Black women plus in that age range. Um, and that means whether they've experienced suicidality, suicidal behaviors, attempts, actions, or maybe they're a caregiver or support system to somebody who does, or they've lost somebody to suicide. And this is really unique for a few reasons. Our organization, the target age and gender identities and race, there's no real resources this niche and this specific. And what we're finding is that there's almost like a resource desert between the ages of 18 through 30.
Yes. Yes.
So when people graduate high school or college, or if they don't go to college, they're out into the workforce, you are statistically the least paid, you are less likely to have insurance. All resources tend to be focused in colleges, and even then, we know there's not enough, right? Colleges and schools.
Mhm.
Um, you are now charged with creating community in a new environment. You don't have that third space that you once had of school. Um, there's a lot of different barriers. And if you are lucky enough to be on your parents' insurance, there's all that stigma that comes with, oh, if I go to a psychiatrist, if I go to a support group, if this shows on my insurance bill, like what is
Mhm.
my family going to say? And so Wellness in Color really aims to attack that resource desert and create a community-based program for people who are experiencing suicidal ideations, behaviors, thoughts, or supporting others. So Shades of Strength, that's the peer support group I just mentioned, that's 7 p.m. virtual. Every other Tuesday, we'll have one this upcoming Tuesday. And then the other programs we do are in-person community-based. So we'll be doing a healing table at the end of September. Healing tables, it's the kids' table that grew up. It's supposed to be like
Mhm.
a dinner, a family-style dinner with your coolest cousins. We're just talking about important things. And so through facilitated conversation about suicide, the goal is to give people the language and the tools to become more fluent with this type of conversation. It's for anybody who's just interested in expanding their knowledge and vocabulary on suicide, whether they've experienced these thoughts or actions and behaviors or if they haven't. So we'll be hosting one here in South Carolina on the 30th. And our other program is Soulscapes, and that's similarly, it's, facilitated conversation about suicide and mental health, but it's over a creative project. And so the idea is through a creative project, people can share their narrative and share their experience and be able to express their experiences and their thoughts and their questions in a new way. Um, and again, it all goes to that community building aspect. How are we building community? How are we building vulnerable and open conversations as a mechanism to not only decrease stigma, but to increase help seeking, increase help giving, and prevent suicide? So
Mm.
that's Wellness in Color. We have our virtual and our in person, and we're very new. So next week will be our second Shades of Strength peer support group. And it's been quite a journey to do this. It's been such an honor.
Awesome. That's awesome. And all of this is at lrhwellness.com, or is it if someone
Well,
wanted to register, which one is it?
it's wellnessincolor.org.
Wellnessincolor.org. Okay, I'll put the link in here, wellnessincolor.org. So, do you also have a group for parents who may have lost a child or loved one to suicide?
They don't yet. That's something that
Yet,
we're
yet, not yet. Okay, great. I think that would be
working towards.
amazing. There's several people that are part of our village, 1,000 people or so that have lost a child to suicide. And I know NAMI has support groups, but to your point, there's a desert for Black families
Oh yeah.
specifically. And so that's, we try to have we are a space as well for Black families. We don't specifically focus on this topic every week, though. So I think there could be a wonderful opportunity to have that conversation with parents and
Yeah.
loved ones.
Yeah. And I think what's special about how we do our Shades of Strength group is it's um it's not recorded, it's completely confidential.
Yeah.
You can come for one, you can come for all. It's, drop in, take, as I said, take what you need, give what you can. So
Right.
you show up however you can, and that's wonderful. But so we're starting with the Shades of Strength and
Mhm.
focusing on 18 to 35, but our goal is to expand as we grow as an org and see what the community needs and
Yeah.
wants. So
I love that.
stay tuned.
And Lexi, what I love also is that Lexi has agreed. She did a wonderful event for a national Jack and Jill event where she did a teen conversation with some other teens, no parents on the line, no old people on the line, all young people talking, and was phenomenal. And so we are exploring here at the SonRise Project, not exploring, we are doing teen talk and working to do that where people and young people, so a teen talk and a young person's space for people to come. And every time I speak, I have young ladies come up to me and say, "Can you talk to my parents, please? Can you tell them what you just said?" I said, "I'm happy to, give me the number, happy to chat." And we laugh about it, but they're serious. And so that's a big part of what we try to do here. And what you said today has been so powerful. It's like, I wish I had heard it 10 years ago. And at the same time, I'm so grateful that you're able to share it with people who, all of us here are open to learning and listening and um, getting better, and so I appreciate that. And I love the conversation about the direct questions for people that may have joined a little bit later. One of the things that Lexi said was, we talked about this notion of asking direct questions about this topic, which is hard, but the asking the question, are you experiencing suicidal thoughts? I've never asked that question of my children, but that's really important. And then the follow up to that was if they say yes, then to stay calm and thank them in a spirit of gratitude and vulnerability. You said way more than that, but I just think that's so powerful to ask the question.
And I'll say too, if your child says no, but you have an inkling or you're a little concerned still, I think it's important to take them at their word. Don't push. Don't push. You might not have that relationship just yet where they want to be honest and open, but if they say no and you're still like a little nervous and you still want to make sure that that dialogue is open, say, okay, if you ever are, I am here to
Mm,
listen calmly and to
mm,
provide you the support you need.
yes,
I think it's very important to know that
yes.
not everybody will have that relationship where they get it off the bat, just yes. So
That's
I,
right.
there's a lot of value in saying, okay,
Mm,
I was concerned you were. I feel like I've noticed this in you. If you ever are, please know you can come to me and I will be calm. I will hear you out. I won't freak out. And I will help you get the support that you want and need.
that you want and need. Right. That's the key.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And, again, that cedes a lot of control. That gives up a lot of control. But
Mm,
happens then is you can make shared decisions and you can make shared decisions. So, you can go to a point where it's like, okay,
mm,
do you want to talk to somebody? Let's find you a therapist that you like, that resonates with you. Do you want to join a teen group? Is it that you feel like you don't have friends? Like, do we need to get you into a community space that you would really enjoy? Or are you doing too much? Do you need to cut back? So
mm,
you create
mm.
the options, and what you might find is that the solutions are maybe a little simpler than you realize, than you would have thought.
Yes.
But you have to give them the opportunity to share what they need. So even if your kid says,
Mm,
"No, I'm not, that's no, 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 why are you asking me this?" Like, get away, mom. You know, you can say, "I was really concerned because I've noticed this in you." And be explicit with what you've noticed to make you say this, or I just have this feeling as your mom or as your dad, as your parent who knows you. If you ever do and you ever want to talk, I am here. And, I'm here to make decisions
mm,
with you and to support you how you need. That's really
mm.
powerful. And what you might find is
Yes.
next time you ask, because you should ask again, give it a day, but you should
Yes.
ask again, that you might have a different answer and you might have a very
Mm,
different conversation.
yes. I love that. And I think I love that on so many levels. And having two children, I've used so many of these lessons these gems from people like yourself, Lexi, over the years with my second child. And it really is so incredibly powerful to witness. And the goal I have is to use these questions with my eldest, with Kyle, and see if he's willing to open up. Because what you just said, the choices that were made for him
Yeah,
when he was under 18. And so I don't know if he'll open up again, you know, but it's worth trying. Absolutely.
exactly. And I think,
Mhm.
it's so because at the end of the day, they are kids. They are
Yeah,
kids.
they're still our babies.
And there is immense value to the knowledge you have as a parent, as somebody who has lived life, who has perspective, who knows these things.
Mhm.
But the reality is also the world is changing. The
Yes,
stressors that kids face nowadays are so distinctly different. Like the stressors high schoolers face nowadays are different than what I face. And I'm only, what, 8 years out of high school? Like,
that just makes
it's
me feel so old, Lexi. But yes, anyway.
maybe a
Yes,
little.
you're very young. You're very young. Yes.
But the point is,
Yes.
the world is
Mm,
changing all
yes.
the time, and the stressors that people face. And when you get down to it, the core is the same. The core is
Mhm, mhm.
how
Absolutely.
we interact as society, how we build friendships, how we
Yes.
build community. The core is very similar, but the nuances make the gap feel so big for
Yeah.
youth when they compare to
Yeah.
their parents. And so this perception that your parents will never get it. They won't understand. They don't get the unique situation that I am in is something that also comes up in my research a lot. There's this perception that youth feel, even if they know they have a friend who's also experiencing suicidality, and this is actually really interesting, even if they have a friend who they know is experiencing suicidality, they perceive that their struggles and their suicidal thoughts and behaviors are different than those of the people in their cohort, in the same age range as them, in their friend group. So if they don't think that their friends will necessarily get it completely, why would they think you would get it as an adult?
Right. Exactly.
And so it requires you to really, really humble yourself and have a lot of humility with that conversation. And acknowledge that, like, I don't actually probably understand exactly every single thing you're dealing with, but I can relate. I can empathize. I'm sure there's some similarities that I've experienced that I can pull on to support you how you need. And I
Hmm.
think that, I mean, it really does just come back down to that humility, to that humbleness,
Right.
and to being able to, like I've said a gazillion times now, I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing it, but ceding control, to giving a little bit of that power away so that your child can share exactly what
Mm-hmm.
they need.
Yes. That is the key. It's really listening. I think I've boiled it down over these past 5 years. The biggest thing we can do as parents is learn to love differently. And we did a campaign a few years ago, my day job, for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and it was around this concept of love, and love can save lives, and but love as an acronym. Listening was the first word, listening differently, which I know I didn't do, and I can so clearly see that, and I own that without guilt anymore. But listening, being open to different possibilities, being vulnerable, and then embracing their desires versus our desires. And it's like simple word love, but love from listen. And one of the experts talked about how love and silent are the same letters. The word, not, I'm sorry, listen and silent. Those two words have the same letters. And I was just like, wow, it's so deep. And to listen, you have to be quiet and really listen. A funny side story was Chris, my little one, I call him my little one, 19-year-old, he called the other night and in the middle of the debate. And so, of course, I was like, the rest of the world wanted to watch the debate. But he called. He doesn't have a TV in his room. He was talking about practice and, all this other stuff. And I literally reminded myself in that moment, because I wanted to say, can I call you back in an hour? I just took a deep breath and I honestly really focused on listening to him, just listening. He just wanted a place to listen. He wanted someone to listen to all these different things that were going on. And it was really powerful and really awesome. And I was grateful to be that person for him in that moment. And I just had to watch the highlights, later, which was amazing also. But yeah, that word listen, I think, and relinquishing control, as you've said a zillion times, but I think we have to get hit over the heads many times to finally let that sink in, to surrender and to relinquish control, and also to have faith over fear. I
Yeah.
think all of that is really important. And for people who've lost someone, I would love for you to share as we get ready to close, any thoughts for people that might be on the line today who have lost someone to suicide? Any thoughts or words or encouragement or advice, suggestions, anything you might want to say on that topic?
Yeah. I want to start by saying I am deeply sorry for your loss. I want to
Mhm.
start by saying that that is something you'll never just get over.
Mhm.
Healing from that is a lifelong journey in itself. And I think that when you lose someone to suicide, there's so much guilt, reflection, rumination over what the shoulda, woulda, couldas, right?
Yes.
The shoulda,
Hmm.
woulda, couldas. And the fact is, you will rarely have the answers, which is so unsatisfying and so heartbreaking. So I want to just acknowledge and offer a lens of I see you, I support you, I hear you, and I empathize with you. The fact is, there is so many ways in which you can garner strength and live out the memory of those you've lost. Um, you don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to feel the guilt and um, continue thinking about what could have been.
Hmm.
The power you have now is that you can influence and change others, and that you can live out the memory of those who have passed.
Yeah.
I think to show up on a call like this, to be able to be here and listen and to offer strength to those who are going through it currently is so powerful. And your voice and your story has value.
Hmm.
I think for those who are kind of left in the aftermath of a suicide, there's this shrinking that happens inside of the individual that, how could I have let this happen? What is my voice now? Like, I am the survivor of this, but what do I have to say? But your story, your narrative, your perception is so valuable and so important and so fortifying for other people. So, I encourage you to walk through the world without shame, to not take on shame and guilt and harbor any sort of resentment, but to walk in the peace of knowing that you are continuing a mission of something greater, that you are living out a memory of somebody who couldn't do it themselves. Um, it's difficult and it's a challenge every day, but it gets easier. It does get easier,
Yes.
and the memory lives on with you, and that's a really powerful thing.
Hmm.
So, and I think at the end of the day, words are words, and it can't always make the hard
Hmm.
days
That's
better. But I
right.
think, you know, reminding yourself that there's beauty in the journey that you are on is
Yes.
really important.
Yes. That's perfect. Thank you, Lexi. Well, I really appreciate you being here. I'm grateful for the work that you're doing, which is incredible and needed and so helpful. So thank you so much. I love seeing you blossom into this incredible, wise woman that's going to impact so many people's lives.
Thank
So thank you for being here this morning and for sharing. And if people want to sign up for one of your groups, they go to wellnessincolor.org. Is it N spelled out or just the letter N?
Just the letter N, and I just put it in the chat for everybody as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of
And
course.
Lexi is a nonprofit like Sunrise. So if you can support her mission, please do. And we will have Lexi doing a monthly session, a teen talk, when we coordinate the time. So please look forward to that. I would love to have you back sometime, Lexi, as well.
I would love to. And if it's okay, can I leave with one last thing too?
Please, please, yes.
So for Suicide Awareness Month, we're doing our 2.58 times the impact activity challenge. So we're challenging our community to move collectively 25,800 miles and to help fundraise $25,800. Um, in the winter, a study came out that there's been a 2.58 times increase in the death rate of suicide death rate of young Black women since 1999. And so we're trying to draw attention to that campaign and draw awareness to it. And I'll put the link in the chat for it as well. So if you guys feel moved to move on our behalf um, and support this cause, it would be so wonderful to have you guys join and to see you show up for us. So I'll put it in the
Yeah.
chat. We're fundraising the whole month, and you can read on there some of like what the different funds we fundraise go towards. But as we're looking to expand and grow, this is super helpful, and just sharing it with the people you are around goes a long way. So thank you.
Love it. So you want us to move and also support. Yes. So I
Yeah.
did 1.8 miles this morning. I was so proud of myself right before the call, as you know. But I will click on and join and I happily donate. So I encourage everybody to do that. Thank you for being here and for doing all the work that you're doing. It's so amazing. Um, so amazing. And I just love what you're doing. Love you, love your family, and I look forward to supporting how the Sunrise Village looks forward to supporting you in the future. So,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you for being here again, and thank you to everybody who called in for this particular topic during Suicide Prevention Month. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vicki Johnson, who will close us out with a prayer this morning. Thank you again, Lexi.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thank you, Lexi. This was fantastic and really powerful. I was looking on your background right behind you where it says we value integrity. And the Bible says that integrity preserves. And so your research, your work, your passion will serve to help us preserve generations moving forward. So just thank you for your work. This is really powerful. I know everyone is sitting in deep contemplation. And so, God, I thank you for this opportunity to learn, to get information, to gain wisdom and tools, to be supported, because you have perfected everything that concerns us already. So we thank you for Wellness and Color, for Lexi and her vision, for allowing her to birth such important work. We thank you for providing resources and sources and relationships, both for Wellness and Color and the SonRise Project. We thank you for every person on this call who is listening now and those who will listen to the replay line. We thank you and lift up before you every family that has been impacted by suicide in one way or another. We thank you that even in that, you ask us to give thanks, not for it, but in it. In everything, give thanks, so that our pain can become our purpose and power and passion to help others. We thank you for this beautiful day that you have given to us, and we choose to rejoice and give your name glory in all that we do, in all that we are, and in every work that you've assigned to our hands. We'll do it as unto you. And we thank you for this day, for this opportunity, and for this moment in time. This was such a powerful call. We're so grateful for all that has led Lexi to do this work, this part. And we give you glory for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. We will see you again next week. Tell somebody, invite somebody to the SonRise Call Sunday support call. This is a powerful community and we're growing every single week. God bless you all.
Yes, thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Thank you, Dr. Vicki. Thank you, Lexi. Have a good day, everyone.
Woke up this morning, sun was shining. Looked out my window, saw my good day coming. It's been some time since my good day's been on my mind. I hope it's here to stay. I don't need another yesterday. My good day helps me sing a different song. My good day brought that job that took so long. My good day often say